Late struggle veteran Rita Alice Ndzanga is being laid to rest today at Ga Mogopa village, just outside Ventersdorp in the northwest. She has been accorded the Special Official Provincial Funeral Category 2 by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's cross to our reporter Itumeleng Kgajane in the northwest. Itumeleng, a very good morning to you. Give us details of what we expect to happen today, and I believe we have the Premier of the Northwest, Ga Mogopa.
Good morning to you, Lebo, and to our viewers. Indeed, we are still coming to you live from the Ndzanga family home here in Ga Mogopa in Ventersdorp. This is where Rita Ndzanga will be laid to rest. The funeral service is expected to start at 8 o'clock, and she has been accorded the Special Provincial Official Funeral, which is accorded Category 2, which is accorded to prominent people who have had a significant role, especially during the liberation struggle, and people who play significant roles in their communities in the province. But let's just understand who Rita Ndzanga was and how best to do that, apart from engaging or inviting into this conversation Lydia Komape, who has been with Ndzanga in the trade unions. Lydia Komape, thank you very much for making time to speak with us. You have worked with Ndzanga in the trade unions. Please do tell us about the person that she was and the struggles that she had to go through in the trade unions.
Rita Ndzanga was working for GAU, which is General Workers Union. She was working with Ndo Sam, and Sydney Mufumadi was the secretary by then. And until we formed COSATU, we were very close because of the struggle of Mogopa. Mogopa was actually one of the areas which was forcibly removed. And I left the unions in 1986 after we formed the giant union, COSATU. Then I went to work for TREC, which was the project of Black Sash. That's when our relationship was very strong. And Mam Rita was born here. So we were involved here with her, helping the community here with resisting the forced removal restoration campaign. So I worked with Rita everywhere. We were moving here. We got reprieved in this area even before democracy. All these houses that you see here, they were built before democracy by our own donors when when the people here were reprieved. And that's Rita. We have built her this little room, this house behind her, even though she had her house in Snawane, and she had a farm in Donaldton. So all these areas, I know. I was sleeping with her there until we both went to Parliament together.
Okay. So, Mama, just briefly, I know it was not fashionable during those days to be part of the trade union, and being a black person or an African person working, in these industries. Would you say the conditions are better now? Are the rights of the workers more respected, more unlike before?
Oh, before it was tough because the unions were not recognized, let alone registered. We were moving during lunchtime, going to collect by hand, organizing workers within the 30 minutes. Because the bosses were very resistant. They didn't want independent unions. They had their own dummy unions that they recognized, and we resisted to be part of those unions. And Rita and ourselves were very, 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 very radical about getting the rights of workers by then. We did not align ourselves with the dummy unions until such time when we got our unions registered.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lydia Komape. Lydia Komape is one of the former trade unionists then during the times of Rita Ndzanga. But let's also invite Premier of the Northwest, Bushimape, to also be part of this conversation. Premier, thank you very much for making time to speak with us this morning. I understand that the government has accorded Mayor Rita Ndzanga special official funeral category 2. Please do talk us through that just briefly, and the people who are being accorded that type of funeral, and why you deemed it fit to accord Mayor Rita that kind of funeral.
The status is accorded to people who've made significant contribution to the liberation of our country. Without doubt, Rita qualifies for that status of a funeral. She has played a leading role, particularly during difficult times in the mid-60s, 67, 68, 69, to the 70s, up until her death. She was a leading member in terms of establishing trade union movement. She formed numerous unions. You know, I can not even count them on my fingers here. She was also involved in the establishment of SACTU, which was a predecessor of COSATU, and so she deserves this status.
And how would you, as the province, remember her, and the kind of what should we emulate from her as the current generation, and you as the leadership of today?
To be steadfast in your commitment, steadfast, to be a moral compass, to be humble. She was a humble soul. Look at her dwelling. Real humble. You know, I remember one day she went to Vryburg to go and address a meeting, in the 80s. She used public transport. You know, if you have to travel from Johannesburg to Vryburg, you have to leave, you have to leave at 8 o'clock in the evening in the train to arrive there the next day. You know, that was a sign of her humility and her commitment to the struggle.
And it shows that she was committed. Would you say the leadership today is committed and should maybe follow on the footsteps of Rita?
We all have to emulate her. All of us. All of us have to learn from her teachings, but more have to learn from her practice. It was not only teachings, but her practice. All of us have to learn from that.
Premier, thank you very much for your time, sir. That's Premier of the Northwest, Bushimape, who is also going to be delivering a eulogy in respect of Rita Ndzanga at the funeral service, which is supposed to start at 8 o'clock this morning. So there's going to be a short prayer service here at the family house, and then from here they will then be proceeding to Ga Mogopa Community Hall, which is where the funeral service is going to be taking place. So currently what's going to happen is that just behind us here, I'm just going to move out of the shot basically so that you can see that the house there. So there at that house, that's where the coffin is. That's where the remains of Rita Ndzanga are. So the coffin will be brought out in a bed to a tent about a few meters away from the house, and that short prayer service will take place in the tent, and then afterwards the family will be making way to the Ga Mogopa Community Hall. So from us here in the Northwest Province, we'll keep you updated. We'll carry the funeral service live as well. So that's where the Premier will be delivering a eulogy in respect of Rita Ndzanga. So from us here in Ga Mogopa near Ventersdorp, is back to you in studio.
Itumeleng Kgajane, thank you so much there for all you're doing for us there in the Northwest. As he said, we'll cross back to him at around 7:30 when the coffin leaves the house into